Capoco started in 1977, so it's in its 33rd, 34th year or whatever. It's been at this location 25 years, and we set up to do bus design, bus and coach design. So it's city buses largely for customers all around the world. Whilst in the first few years we had a formal office and the team worked there, we moved out some 25 years ago to this rural location with a distributed team, essentially a virtual company, which shed us both the fixed overheads of the office but also the time overheads of commuting and being based in an urban area. So we found that we can operate quite happily in this rural environment. There are hives of industries here, and it's wrong to presume that it's an agricultural solely system that's of economy working here. It's quite the reverse, in fact. I would think there's probably more people in perhaps graphics or IT in the valley that actually farm. There are many small companies like ourselves, small teams, whether they're limited or not, that can operate in this environment and contribute very handsomely to the national economy. 30 years ago we weren't perhaps financially as stable as we are now, and we looked originally in a sort of semi-urban situation, and then we couldn't afford the space that we required, and basically we moved out here. The great divide for us was the area where we could find a complex that's big enough to suit Capoco and obviously our family life, so the formula suited us well. The piece of working here is deeply attractive. It is in fact cheaper to have facilities such as we have in this rural environment than we would in a city environment, and it just works for us basically. We've had some expectation issues over the years. Our first project in North America was for Greyhound, and because we were doing so much work in the UK, I cold called the Greyhound Corporation for about 18 months, and their vice president rang me up and said, "Okay, Alan, we're coming to visit you. Will you book us a hotel close to your plant?" And I had to slowly tell him that we didn't have a plant as such. We had a design office, and the CEO and all the VPs of Greyhound drove up the drive outside, and we had 6 or 7 years work with them. Essentially, as long as you deliver the designs that are competitive, which touchwood we have been, people are quite happy to accept where you work from, and they can clearly see when they do visit here the attraction of the actual location. When we came out here and the property was in a fairly bad state and we were looking for some help to set up this business, it was true the case that the only grants available then were in saddlery and thatching, and possibly if it involved horses. So it has been a slow uptake on the fact that there's many creative or service industries that can operate quite happily in the rural atmosphere and do so, and perhaps are not as recognised as much as they should be. We're pretty busy, but next year we should have space for that. We've done communications at times has been a bit of a challenge, but and as more people have come onto broadband, the speeds have been going down of late, which gives us a bit of a problem. So we're seeking to reassert the competitiveness of our rural location on that front. So we do need a next kick on line speeds in terms of broadband. Other than that, I suppose specifically we tend to use more energy as individuals than you would in a city, because the distances are higher and we're in separate houses. But essentially for our industry, in that obviously it's a software rather than a hardware industry, all of the supplies are here, so one can operate quite readily from this location and get supplies in through Salisbury, or of course any overnight shipper anyway, or anyone in the country will quite happily deliver here. So we do rely somewhat on the couriers. One can reach the M25 in a little bit over an hour, and sometimes I've been in central London, it takes you that much from the middle of London out to Heathrow, so it really is quite fast. Generally Heathrow and Gatwick are readily available. I fly regularly now to Scotland via Southampton Airport. I'm in the office in Edinburgh at 8:30 in the morning and then back down here at 6. So it's really not cut off. It's quite easy to get to the major links whilst living in the rural Lidl. It's worked for us for a quarter of a century, and I see no reason for it changing.